Welcome to another episode of Discover St. Cloud, Florida. I'm Kristen McCary, and I'm here with your host,
Janine Corcoran, broker for Corcoran Connect, a real estate company.
And it's the beginning of another month, which means it's time for
our October market report.
So tell me what's going on. What are you seeing in the market, the real estate market in St. Cloud? What happened in October?
So in October, we always like to start with the zip codes only because that helps because there's different areas. And so I start with 34769, which includes your old State Streets, not old. I don't mean old.
Historic.
Historic.
Like historic downtown.
That's a better word, folks. Historic. Okay, so in 34769, we had 34 houses that sold. Of the one stories, actually most of them were one stories, 29 one stories and 5 two stories, and the price per square foot, because folks, we know you love the price per square foot, is at $224.76 for the single stories and two stories at $171.12. And what do you have? Do you have any stats?
Yeah, stats wise, 34769 is kind of holding steady. They had a slight price increase in terms of price per square foot. It went up 0.5%.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
I consider that holding steady, right? Like that's pretty average. And then year over year, it's still up 18.82%. It's almost 19% year over year. So that's doing good. For your days to contract, you're at 35 days to contract and 67 days to close.
Okay.
So we're hitting over that. It's starting to hit a little bit longer, take a little bit longer for things to move. There's so many different factors, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, I think. Right. But historically, I don't think that's a crazy number either.
And so folks, you can no longer say when the house is on the market for 60 days, you can't say, what is wrong with that house?
Right. It's a normal market. That's what it is.
That's what's happening.
Yep.
Oh, and then we have the zip code where our office is, 34771. Hey, for the paper shuffling, sorry about that. We had 86 sales, and of the 86, 50 of them were single stories at $239.30 a square foot, and two stories we had 36 at $190. Well, let's just say $191 because it's getting up there.
Yep. And so your average price per square foot overall at $218.95 is again holding steady. It's down 0.4%, but again, I feel like if it's like within 1 to 2%, I'd consider that being pretty steady. And year over year, it's still up 14%. And then
So that's a little bit less, right?
A little bit less
okay.
in terms of overall year over year percentage growth in price per square foot. I feel like 34771 has always had a little bit higher price per square foot just because it's got a lot of new construction.
New builds, yep.
Yeah, a lot of new builds. So I think that tends to keep them a little higher, so they might not have seen as many dramatic jumps
Makes sense.
in there. But your days to contract are at 35 days to contract.
Also, wow.
And just so you know, I actually exclude, when I run these numbers, I exclude new builds because they, kind of skew the numbers. Sometimes new builds go in as if they never had any days on the market. And then some,
that's true.
Some
I didn't think about that. That's smart.
Put in really early, in the construction process. So they're on the market for 160 days or something before they close. So I like to exclude
they're
those.
like the outlier that you're pulling out.
Right. So so these are all just your resale homes at 35 days to contract and 79 days to close.
So that's longer, though.
That's longer too. So I'll tell you, I just had a sale.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was very stressful. We had a house that
real estate stressful.
I know,
really?
but my buyer / seller fell in love with a house and put in an offer and got it accepted the day that the hurricane was hitting. So we were going under contract while the hurricane was making landfall, which was fun. But that also meant that we had to list and sell their house. And we had no idea what was going to happen after the hurricane in terms of, are there going to be buyers? Is anybody going to come out and see it?
That does scare a lot of people. That's for sure.
And so we were able to get them listed and under contract and sold. We actually were able to close in 2 weeks. So that was fantastic timing and great end to that. But all that to say, that was in the 34771 market. So my house was on the market for 2 days.
So you helped the numbers.
I did. I brought them down a little bit there, guys. So that's, again, 35 days to contract, 79 days to close. Wow. We're seeing in 34771.
Interesting. So then we have 34772, and that's out. The manor is part of that. And we had 45 houses that sold. Of that, 38 was single stories at $216 a square foot, and 2 stories were at $194.30. So,
Yep. Your average price per square foot of $212.71 for like everything is up 3.98%, so almost 4% month over month.
Oh,
so
interesting.
a little bit of an increase there still. And year over year, you're up 6.5%. So that's, I feel like we're starting to kind of,
level.
is this when the rocket ship took off? Was in October of last year? That's what I'm starting to think, is that because it's year over year, those numbers, if the number's getting smaller,
Makes sense.
is that when we kind of exponentially took off? I'm trying to remember when to pinpoint. I mean, that was when rates were still in the threes. Like, it was still a really good time.
I feel like I've been on a rocket ship for the past 2 years since COVID.
Since COVID hit.
I just sat down, held on, and boy, oh boy, it was busy.
Yeah.
It was busy, that's for sure.
So your days to contract in 34772, 21 days to contract on average. So that's a little bit lower than the other two. So 34772 seems to be moving still, and then 70 days to close.
Oh wow.
So taking a little bit longer to close, but
Interesting
days
on
to
the
contract.
amount of time for closing, though, isn't it?
It is. That's like 40 days, like difference,
Yeah, and folks, typically it's a 30-day close.
Right,
But,
on average.
there may be, maybe the seller can't leave right away. Maybe they're giving them more
Right.
time in the house, or maybe the seller's trying to buy something, so they need more time.
Right,
A lot of that's still going on.
right. Absolutely. So that's interesting. All right. So what do we have over in 34773?
So 34773, which includes Harmony, of course. We have 22 that sold, 15 single stories at $229.48 a square foot. And two stories, 7 2-stories at $181.26 with your average at $214.13.
Yep. So that is, again, holding steady at about 0.14% increase. So very minimal gains there, but overall just kind of holding steady. And your year over year averages are up 22.38%. So still good, healthy. Gains in terms of overall average price per square foot over the past year. So your average days to contract is 30. And average days to close is 64. So again,
there we go again with the 64. It's over 60 days. Interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Taking a long time to close.
It is. So I think if I'm not mistaken, the way the MLS calculates it, though, the days to close is, including the days to contract. So from contract to close is 34 days. But still 64 days from when they hit the market till when they actually close.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Then that makes a little bit more sense.
That makes more sense. But still, in 34772, when you have a difference
can't they do
of
from contract from contract to close?
I guess you could do some simple math here.
Yeah. Okay.
But still, like your observation in 34772, where their days to contract are 21, but their days to close are 70. That's still 49 days on average from the time you go under contract to the time you close. So that's still a little higher.
Yeah. That's simple math. I get what you're saying.
Do the math, folks. We'll put the numbers up for you.
There you go.
So that is 34773 for you.
And then we have vacant land, of course.
Yep.
And I don't have any averages on that. I just have, there weren't many.
Yeah, because there's not really much going on in vacant land. I don't know if I even have a vacant land over here. That's okay.
Yeah, you do. I think maybe I threw it out.
But
12. There's only 12.
There's only 12 sales. And I get that typically those are...
And truthfully,
it's hard to
there's
find.
no big land deals reported this past 30 days. The lowest one sold out in Hollapog Groves for $3,000, and that was a third of an acre. And the highest one was on Quail Roost Road for $220,000. That was a cash deal, and that was 2 acres.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so no big parcels reported last 30 days.
Do you remember, I think it might have even been on one of our very first podcasts when I kept saying, land is the thing you need to get. You got to get land because there's a finite amount of it and you can't make more of it. And once it's gone, it's gone.
It's so true.
And I feel like everybody listened to that podcast, all 4 of you out there. And you went out and bought up all the vacant land around. No, I'm just kidding. But, so I still think land's a great thing to do. It's funny because I feel like the more, all the sellers that I interact with when we go for listing shoots, even a lot of them are saying no, we're selling because we want some property. And
yes, yeah.
wanting some space. So
But there's still a switch when you list someone's property that has land, and then they're going to, I'm going to 55 and older community, you know,
Right.
where everyone's on top of each other.
right.
So
Well, there's
it's
way
more-
less to maintain there too.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it
yeah.
depends
So-
on where you are in your life cycle and
The people that live in a community like we live in, very tight, and then they're
Right.
like, I had enough of this.
right.
I want some space.
See, like I really love this for like this period in my life, but there will come a time when I'm like, you know what? I just want peace and quiet and birds. And
I do
like,
not want to. I'll be the other one moving into the 55. I don't want to take care of anything.
No, not at all. I'm right there with you. No, thank you. So, you know, I know one of the things we wanted to talk about, you know, because we are seeing a trend in longer days on market, right? You know,
wanna
some
talk
of the
about
things
Harmony
that.
first or no?
Oh, sure. I
Sorry.
forgot about Harmony.
Yeah, I made it very. Did we? Yeah, I think we did that last time. So for all your Harmony folks out there, for the rescue folks, just bear with us for a few seconds. We did do Harmony, Maine, which is the first Harmony ever built. We only had 13 sales. People do not want to leave Harmony. They will do the Harmony shuffle. They will go from house to house.
Absolutely.
But they don't leave Harmony. I have a gentleman right now, so any of the 5 people listening that has a 4-bedroom house, not yours,
Yeah.
a 4-bedroom house. I have a buyer from Arizona who wants to move here by December.
Okay.
So I showed him what was available, which was
not
much.
a lot.
And I put a post out on our Harmony forum.
Yep.
And didn't get much response. Someone in the estates did offer to sell the house, and I told him he was not allowed to leave. So I told him, you don't count, and no.
Yep.
So let me know. Reach out to us or have your realtor. If you're planning on putting your house on the market. But so we had 13 of the regular sales. Ashley Park, we had 5 that sold, and then resales we had 3. The Enclaves, you had 1. There's one that sold for $394, $685.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was at 152. That got a lot lower, didn't it?
Well, so you have to remember, a lot of people in the Enclave purchased like
long
a
time
year and a
ago.
half ago. Like,
so
and their
they-
houses are just finishing. So they were locked in at like ridiculously low prices. I know me in particular, you know, we purchased in December and our house closed in April. So we're one of the higher end homes in terms of price, you know. So yeah, so they probably, more than likely, they were under contract for quite some time on fellow Enclave members.
Yeah.
And then in the Lakes, you had what? Was that
5
in the
of them
Lakes?
sold. So out of that, 7 out of the 14 sold, 7 1-stories and 7 2-stories. 199.05 on the single stories and 168.25. I feel like the 2 stories has been keeping, you know, that number somewhere around there
Right.
for a while.
Yep. That sounds about right. And then what do you have over in Harmony West?
Oh, yes. Let's not forget Harmony West. I believe that they just sold the same amount. Oh, 13 houses in Harmony West. And most of these are, all of them except one, 2021 are new. So we had 13 total, 8 single stories at $245.62. And then 2 stories, 5 of them at $183.43. Interesting.
Wow. That's crazy. So Harmony's still going strong. Hey, any Harmonians out there that are actually thinking of leaving? No one leaves here. We all do the shuffle. Just the shuffle, find a new house, move down the block.
So you want to talk about an interesting
Yeah.
fact. So this is for, we're talking to the sellers
Yes.
for a moment.
To kind of help explain why, you know, it's not so much that you miss the mark, but it's just explaining why sometimes it seems like houses are staying on the market a little bit longer, why price adjustments may be necessary.
Or why maybe helping a buyer
Right.
may be necessary too.
Right. Absolutely. Because that's back. That is back.
It is back.
The concessions for, you know, your inspection period are back. You're, you know, accepting an offer and contributing towards closing costs or buying down rates, or there's so many things that are back now, which isn't a bad thing. That's a normal
market.
normal thing.
Yeah, and the other thing that should be back, in my opinion, is the normal contract, not the as-is contract.
Right.
Because why not, as a seller, decide up front? You do have a choice of different type of contracts, whether you sell your house as is. And I'm certainly not an attorney, but or just a regular contract, which states how much you're willing to fix items that should be functioning for what they were meant to be.
Right.
Right up front.
Right.
Have that conversation up front. It's so much easier.
Right.
So much easier.
Yeah.
Right up front. And, it's not like they put in a long list of just fluffy kind of things they want fixed. It states in the contract what,
Right.
So I love that contract.
Yep.
I think we're going to see more and more of that. But go ahead. So,
Well, so the biggest elephant in the room is really rates.
Yeah.
Interest rates. We're over 7% now. We're at 7%, and they're not coming down in the near future. It does not seem that way. So interest rates are really playing a big role in terms of buyer affordability. So we were talking about this the other day, and I said, if I bought this house, this same house, if I closed on it today with today's rates, my mortgage payment would be over $700 more per month. I wouldn't have been able to buy this house.
No,
I don't know how many people have that much flexibility
in a monthly payment.
So I know that's been a common thing where you're like, hey, you could just get in now, and then if rates drop in the future, you refinance and get a lower rate, get a lower payment. But if you have a monthly affordability,
right, you're still about the monthly payment.
right?
Yeah.
So we had our lender.
Yep. So we spoke to one of our preferred lenders, which is, I'm going to put a plug in for her. It's Colleen Mitchell from Homebridge Mortgage. And she ran some numbers for us. Kristen came up with the idea.
Yeah.
And so we took a $395 house and she ran us numbers. This is just principal and interest at 7% conventional loan with 5% down.
Right.
And we came up with a monthly payment of $2,496.55. So you could just say $2,497.
Right. Heck, $2,500, call it, because what's that $3.45
That's true.
going to get me?
$2,500 payment. And then she took the
same price,
right? The rates from a year before in a different market at 4.875.
Right.
I was surprised. I would have thought it was lower. You know what I mean?
Right.
But,
I think that was 4.875 is about 6 months ago, I'd say.
Okay.
Was about the rate six
So more
months ago.
spring,
Springtime. Earlier
yeah.
this year.
Okay.
I think is where that rate was coming in.
So same house, $395, and the payment for principal and interest is $1,986.
Right.
So that's a No, that's not. That is
$510.
$510. Thank you. $510, almost $511 difference. Like yours, you said was
Right.
7, and this one was 5. So,
Right.
So what can a buyer buy?
Well, so then we kind of came up with the idea. If say a buyer was in the market 6 months ago and they were qualified for a $395,000 house at 4.875%, in order to get them at that same payment, you would need to have a house that was $237,000. They lost $168,000 in affordability. So the people that we're looking for, if your home is priced at $550,000, your buyer pool has now shrunk because 6 months ago, your buyer that would buy your house today was looking in the 700s. So it's a big, it's a big change. And you gotta remember, like, as a buyer, if I'm looking at all these houses, if I'm looking at a $395,000 house 6 months ago and I'm seeing them, but maybe I'm not winning the bids, I'm putting in offers, it can get, you could feel like, oh man, I really have to change what I'm looking for in order to be able to afford homes. So it is definitely an adjustment period, I think. And that's why we're seeing houses sit on the market a little bit longer.
Yeah. So sellers, that's why we wanted to talk to you specifically. The buyers know what's going on,
Right.
because they're the ones sitting back and hurting or,
Right.
Trying to ask for help. So we're just reaching out and talking to you, because when you get that offer, realize that's a buyer that can afford your house.
Right.
But all the other buyers that could have afforded your house in the spring, they're all gone. They're
Right.
now looking at lower houses that are a lot less.
Right.
So just think about that when you're,
Right.
if a buyer needs help or whatnot.
Right.
when you're
Especially with
pricing.
something like buying down rates.
Yeah, buying down rates
it
is a
might
good
be
one.
too expensive for the buyer may not have the cash to do it. But if that's a way for you to get more money for your house and you're just buying down the rate, it seems like a good, a solution. So definitely.
You know what we're going to start to see? I just when you said that, I said, you know what we're going to start to see? I haven't had this with any of my sellers, is a cat just came in. It is that sellers will be, remember you used to say, seller willing to pay,
Yes.
$10,000 towards buyer's closing costs. As more and more properties come on the market and
Right.
they are sitting there not moving, we're going to start to see that.
I think so. I think so.
So
it's interesting. It's an interesting time to be in. And I mean, everything's more expensive, right?
yeah.
But that's just
Everything.
it. For me personally, there's no way I could have afforded $700 a month more.
No.
Like, I mean, I'm not comfortable, not to be able to, maintain my lifestyle or like do anything else.
you'll
I would be
just
house poor.
Yeah.
You don't want to be house poor. Nobody wants to be house poor. So that's definitely an adjustment period. I think we're just in that adjustment period and it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
There was
so
no
fast.
like gradual, like we're going to creep up. No, we're just like, boom, $700 more a month.
It's like put on the brakes.
Right. So,
And I feel really bad. Like I have people that
Yeah.
they're first time home buyers and they missed. Mm-hmm. they even when we were showing them and their houses were, at a good price and a good rate, and they're like, oh, it's not the perfect one. I mean, like, how do you convince
Right.
a first time home buyer? Like, and we didn't know what was going to happen.
no.
So if we had a crystal ball and we could rewind and go back, we could say, guess what? In 6 months from now, the rate's going to be
Right.
7%. So buy now. But
Right.
we didn't know.
Well, and
But
it's,
some lenders did talk about it. Yeah.
yeah, some did. So it's funny because I had that conversation with Ryan from North Point, another one of our preferred lenders. And because he was the lender on our loan when we were closing on this house. And, we were talking about the rising interest rates because it was around December. So we were still in the threes. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I think we'll get to like 4.75 by the summer and hold. He's like, I think that's the worst that we're going to see. Now, I'd really like to talk to you again, Ryan, see how you're feeling about this. But no, it's crazy. I mean, like even somebody as seasoned as him, they didn't expect it.
No.
Not this much, this much. So it's definitely,
Can I
made an
use that
impact.
term? But rates are still historically low.
They are.
From what I've seen over the years,
They are. And rates, I think it's, it's a combination of both. So rates might be historically low, but house prices are high.
Historically high.
So, and people, it's about affordability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you're coming in with, cash and a rate doesn't matter, or, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, people think in terms of monthly payments.
Yeah. It's just like buying a car. Usually when you go in there, it's like, I don't know what I can afford, but I know I can afford monthly.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, what can I get for 500? And well, you can get a Cracker Jack on wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
Like nothing.
Exactly.
So,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's
hang in there, buyers.
Yep.
Because
Interesting.
there's going to be more sellers that will help.
Yep.
And
Well, hey, I don't know about you, but I've even had home sale contingencies. I've seen.
oh yeah, yeah, no,
Those are
absolutely.
back. So if you were a seller that maybe was sitting on the fence because you didn't want to go try and buy a house, but then, not be able to sell yours, those are back too. So, it's all signs of a healthier market. It's curious to see where the rates and the prices are going to balance. I think
where they're gonna
we got to
balance out.
find that, that point. So,
Yeah.
but all in all, our numbers seem to be holding pretty steady right now for in terms of, comparing from month over month. Even year over year, we're still doing good. So
I have a question to ask. So, did you got straight A's in math, right?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
So
I
that
really
was
like
what-
math.
But you also English was a strong subject for you too.
I mean, I was good. I'm good at all of them, but like I really enjoyed math. Like
Yeah.
math just makes sense to me because it's a right or a wrong answer. There's no like,
Gray area.
what do you think and what makes you feel, and there's
Right.
none of that. I'm black and white.
Right.
It's right
That's
or
why
wrong.
Kristen does the stats numbers.
Yes. I'm all about the numbers. I love seeing the trends. I love, just picking up on trends and watching them over time. I really like numbers and figuring that out. So
Wow.
it's cool.
You should become an engineer.
I know. I actually thought about going for accounting once.
Really?
Yeah. And then I looked at all the accountants I knew. And at the time, and I'm sorry, guys, but at the time they were all like old bald men and like I was just, with no personalities. And I was just like, I don't want to be that. So I didn't. Here I am.
Too funny. Too funny.
One of the other things that I wanted to ask you about, because I think, you've got obviously way more listings than I do, but what are you seeing in terms of, I remember 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, we were having an insane number of iBuyer, like cash offers from investors for rentals or whatever the case may be. Are you still seeing, like, are they still submitting offers? And a lot of times they were over the list price.
Yeah. Yeah. So they have definitely pulled back. And as a matter of fact, we put a nice property on the market. It was an older property, historic property in downtown St. Cloud. And we had 9 offers. Only 2 were cash. And it was in that sweet zone,
Yeah.
235.
Right.
Right there. 5 blocks from the lake.
Right.
Very well kept. 9 offers, 2 were cash. One was a low ball cash.
Right.
The other one was actually not an investor. It was a cash buyer from out of state. And we ended up, believe it or not, we had FHA, VA, conventional. We had every type of
Everything.
loan.
You had it all.
Yeah, we had
They were
it
all
all.
there.
I don't think we had, we didn't
No
have
USDA.
USDA. But anyway, the cash buyer ended up, she hadn't seen the house. So the owner gave her 5 days to get here to see the house. She figured, I'll take my chance. It'd be easier
Right.
with cash. And she didn't like the house. And I was so afraid
Right.
that was going to happen. But he was willing to take the chance. So we ended up with an FHA buyer.
Wow.
Got through inspections, did my due diligence ahead of time on those old electric panels, and I took pictures of
Yep.
everything, sent it to the inspector, sent it to the lender, made
Yep.
sure there's not going to be any issues about FHA, VA, or anything.
Right.
And so we got through the inspection. Now we're waiting on appraisal. So they are
That's
definitely
awesome.
less. And did you notice, I don't know if you get them at your house, I get them at my house all the time, Open Door would always send a flyer for what your house is worth. And I tell you what, it's slashed. It's down.
Well, it's funny you say that because my sellers that just closed on 34771, we closed for 575. Beautiful home, beautiful house. And they had an offer, like literally when we were under contract for like 438, and they
Wow.
got
Come on,
575.
Open Door.
Like so, that's why I was curious if there was a shift in that in terms of
Definitely. I haven't, in all the listings I'm putting up, I'm not seeing any of the big investors come. As a matter of fact, we put a house back on the market that fell from a buyer that didn't get qualified, and we lowered the price to see if we could attract some of the investors that were
Right.
there the first time around.
Right.
And we always email all of them.
Yep.
Kind of like, look what we have. Are you interested? And it was
Nothing.
silent.
Goose egg, huh?
Everyone, I think, put on the brake for that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with that program. But so thank you guys for joining us for this month. But we have a really cool contest going on over at Corker Connect. What do you got this month?
So let's not forget about our veterans, because November has started, and before you know it, we're going to be in the holidays. So veterans are very important to us. So we're having a contest, and you can go to our Facebook page. The Facebook page actually says The Corcoran Connection. That's because we're having trouble changing the name with Facebook, but it will happen soon. So just look for Corcoran Connect, Corcoran Connection. And the first prize will be, when you recognize your veteran, will be first place $100 cash, second place $75 Amazon card, and third place would be a $50 Publix card. Now what you have to do is find that post on our Facebook page. Tell us in 3 sentences or less why you are nominating a veteran that inspires you. Maybe it's a story, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend.
Yep.
I think it would be kind of neat to interview. I was thinking about Pastor Danny from our church,
Yeah.
interviewing him. He was in the Navy. My dad, Kristen's grandpa, he served World War II. He was in the Navy, so he's been passed, but just to inspire someone, someone that inspires you now. So a veteran that's still around.
Yep, that'd be great. So that way that veteran can win that prize.
The veteran wins a prize, folks, not you who nominate them.
Yes, a little recognition for them. That's really important, I think, especially these days, to just really honor and recognize our veterans.
they do.
And I feel like Veterans Day is like in the middle of the busiest season of everybody's life. Like, could we have put it somewhere else?
I know, definitely.
Like-
So you have to have it in by November 10th.
Yep.
And then on the Veterans Day, on the 11th, is when we'll be picking out a prize. And I don't sit there and look. I do look through them, of course, but
Right.
I get a group of agents in my office, and I pass along the information separately and say, read through these, and who do you vote for? And
Right.
it's interesting.
It's cool to see that. It's
Yeah.
fun to be involved in that. So, really great cause, really great people. I'm excited to see some of the stories. I haven't gone to check out and see if anybody's posted anything yet. But definitely go over there and nominate your favorite veteran and tell us why.
Yep.
But thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Discover St. Cloud, Florida. Remember, you can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Or you can find us on YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah. And if you ever have any questions or suggestions on things that we could cover, questions about the market, whatever the case may be, you can always send us an email at discoverstcloud@gmail.com.
Or give us a call at 1-844-ST-CLOUD. That's STCLOUD.
Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next episode.